This is the daily Boris graph, Sunday Boris graph. And today's daily Boris graph is this one. It's a complete, absolutely false headline and misleading headline. Because the word revolt is completely inappropriate. This is not a revolt. Revolt suggests something substantial than what the Tories are supposed to be doing. And then on the front page, same front page of the daily Boris graph. Boris graph we use as a pejorative term, a term of dishonest to denote and connote dishonesty on the part of this title, Fleet Street title, and also to assert evidentially there is a corrupt newspaper and showing up a corrupt careerist in Boris Johnson. That is what we mean by Boris graph. We don't mean in a positive way. We don't mean in an innocent kind of role that we impute as being played by the Boris graph, which has bribed Boris Johnson to the millions, to the tune of millions of pounds since at least 2008. And the Boris graph is lying in the headline, saying Tory revolt over closed school. Revolt is not appropriate. It's a comment. I mean, I suppose it shows that the fact that they call it revolt shows that they are admitting that this is a dark age and they are in the darkness and they are peddling darkness. A revolt, in order to justify it being called revolt, the action referred to must be of such magnitude and strength and power and impact as to unsettled or remove from their position the target of the revolt, the target of the alleged revolt. The Tory MPs talking about the status of schools in the lockdown, whether they're open or they're closed. Comments do not constitute revolt. And yet not just the Boris graph, but the rest of the Fleet Street so-called media papers use the term revolt when they actually mean that one or two persons in the particular political group or grouping has expressed a different opinion, different from the opinion of the promoters of something they're revolting against, allegedly, or they're opposing or they're commenting on, or commenting against. So it's not a revolt, it's a comment. So the headline should be, Tories are not all Tories are supporting the closed schools policy or policy on schools. The other problem is that every day, for the second calendar year now, the Fleet Street papers have been publishing contradictory statements about the state of the virus as well as the state of the response to the virus. And they are not publishing the data for the particular areas, all the areas that are affected by the virus across the United Kingdom. So if people don't know what the actual trend in terms of the numbers being infected in their particular areas is, then they can't take any action that is actually in accordance with the level of care and the level of lockdown, the level of isolation, whatever, that needs to be taken. So for the second calendar year, the Fleet Street papers have not been giving so-called readers the actual news. So what is it that they are covering in their so-called coverage? Well, they're actually stuffing the pages with cover-ups, lying, hiding, denying, contradicting. But at the same time, they're shielding the liar, Boris Johnson, the person who is unfit for purpose. They're lying and making excuses and putting him under any pretext, putting him in a positive in the sense of being treated as if he is fit for purpose, that he is achieving anything for the prevention of the infection in the UK and for the protection of the people of all ages, in all areas, and in all boroughs, and with all levels of income or no income at all. So it's not revolt. Revolt is not appropriate because any number of MPs, 10 or 20 conservative MPs, making a statement about the particular status of the schools in the lockdown is a very small number of MPs that the Tories have in the House of Commons. So that's a wrong word, revolt, we have said before, and it's a wrong concept and false, misleading, dishonest of the Daily Boris Graph. As I said, whose owners have actually bribed Boris Johnson to the tunes of millions of pounds they have given him under any pretext. And the main pretext they have used has been a column, so-called, that Boris Johnson has apparently written. Absolutely untruthful, because it cannot be justifiably said that Boris Johnson wrote books, let alone one book, and the columns are allegedly linked with the books that he allegedly has written, especially by exploiting the vulnerability of the gullibles who are vulnerable to kind of promote anyone or support anyone or back anyone who has no shame in linking themselves with the recorded image of the patriotic Winston Churchill. Nothing Johnson has written or nothing that has been published by the Boris Graph under the so-called byline of Boris Johnson in the last, more than 10 years has actually had any significant substance to it. In fact, some of the most notorious opinions contained in those so-called articles that were signed by Boris Johnson have none of those articles has had any impact at all, except a number of those which have contained brazen racism and brazen anti-Muslim incitement to hatred. And Johnson has not been held to account for this racism. He has not been prosecuted for making racist comments. And the ideas of the people who have opposed him. The ideas of the people who have opposed him and are continuing to oppose him have never been recognized by the Boris Graf or Daily Boris Graf, or the husband of the one of the most intolerant and racist kind of women connected with the Boris Graf is the convicted Conrad Black. And Conrad Black, his wife had a column in the Telegraph, Boris Graf papers, before the Barclays brothers took over the Boris Graf. And even that liar, convicted, imprisoned liar, came out of the sidelines, if you like, and added his support for Boris Johnson, who was being bribed already by the Barclays brothers. And this is known fact known to the other Fleet Street papers, especially the Daily Mail, and of course by the Guardian and by the Daily Mirror and so on. So without having an independent, moral, ethical kind of narrative and agenda and purpose, none of these papers could be expected to expose the lies being told by the Boris Graf and also by John Boris, who persuaded the owners, whatever the evidence he showed, persuaded the new owners, let's say, to part with millions of pounds over the years that they bribed Johnson with, under the apparent persistent pretext that Johnson was writing an opinion column. If there was an opinion column, there would be opinion, but there is no opinion because Johnson has actually misused the whole platform when he accused the Muslim women of being or looking like Muslim women looking like bank robbers. And it is to be noted that she never ever appeared as a writer. This wife of Conrad Black, who was actually given the credit as a writer, but she never actually wrote an independent, objective piece. And there are so many of them writing or given bylines as writers of articles. Those people do not write those because they haven't got the intellect to write anything, and they haven't got the morality to write anything objective and ethical. So the Daily Boris Graf has got this stupid front line with the Boris peddling headline. And the first paragraph of this one written by Gordon Rayner and Tony Diver reads, "School children have become the pandemic's forgotten victims," Tory MPs have told Boris Johnson. Now, that is not a revolt. That is not a revolt, and that is still misleading. And if the MPs, Tory MPs, or any number of Tory MPs did say anything that that particular first paragraph is based on, then those Tory MPs are lying as well. Because instead of saying that school children are among the most immediately affected victims of Boris Johnson's incompetence, unfitness, and lack of compassion. But he didn't say, or the headline writers Gordon, Rayner, and Tony Diver didn't say anything about Johnson being at fault. And the rate of the vaccine first dose is being claimed to be now 6,353,321, and the daily cases of the virus are 301. And regardless of the numbers of the people being, quote, allowed to die of the virus, they are still claiming that the lockdown needs to be curtailed and the school should be opened. Now that shows total disarray and total dishonesty on the part of the conservatives, while the conservatives are being given a license to continue to tell lies. And that is a rare item in the kind of Boris graph on the front page, saying vaccine staff offering spare jabs to friends. That is inevitable when they have made this as a business, because the favor and the nepotism and the corruption is, of course, linked with the concept of business.